The Blast from Our Past Network.
Hey everybody, Corey here.
And it's me, Zach.
We wanted to tell you about our new show called The Coscarelli Factor.
You can find it on our Patreon at patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. The Coscarelli Factor covers every single film that Don Coscarelli has directed. And some other little bonus features in there too, like maybe the music videos he directed as well.
That's right. You can find all the episodes under the Auteur de Force tier on our Patreon page. Like Zach said, that's patreon.com/podcastingafterdark. And if you sign up today, you will get access to the complete Carpenter Factor series, where Zach and I went through every single movie that John Carpenter directed, from Dark Star all the way to, well, all the way till the end. So sign up today to our Patreon page and you can unlock all kinds of other things as well, like ad-free episodes and our monthly wrap-up After Dark show.
Patreon helps keep the lights on in the podcasting After Dark world. It gets pretty dark out there at night, and all your support keeps us from getting too scared.
And thank you to everyone who's signed up to our Patreon page. We really appreciate it. And as always,
we'll catch you on the dark side. Podcasting After Dark presents TV Obscura, a deep dive into underrated and unknown television shows from our youth. Cartoons, sitcoms, cop shows, and much more. Sit back and enjoy some nostalgic fun with TV Obscura.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Podcasting After Dark presents TV Obscura. I am 1/3 of the TV Obscura team. Corey, a.k.a. Sleazy C, joined me as always, my brothers from other mothers, Zach the Total Snackhead Schaefer and Diallo the Armageddon Jackson. And this month we are discussing, how are you going to bill this one? Comedian vehicles, right? Like comedian sitcoms, I guess?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the great thing is we have one from the 70s. We have one that's like right on the cusp of the 80s and the 90s, but it feels very 80s-ish. And then we have one that's firmly in the middle of the 90s. So you know what? I'll say we're covering three different decades here.
Sure.
But this one's going to be a fun one, guys, and I think we all have a lot to say because we already started talking offline about things. We're like, oh my God, just start recording. But boyos, happy to be here as always when doing TV Obscura with you guys. But Diallo, oh, you know what? Let me announce what we're going to do. We're going to start off with Chico and the Man. Diallo's going to be covering that one. Zach's going to be covering, where's Rodney?
Where's Rodney?
Hey. And then I'm going to be covering the Andrew Dice Clay vehicle, Bless This House.
Why don't you come back to my place and shred out my Longfellow?
Hickory dickory dock. Zuzu, my guitar. It's all scratched up. Zuzu. Oh, buddy. Okay.
Mano. What is that?
Thanks for working. Thanks for being a jerk off. Oh, guys, go listen to our Ford Fairlane review that Zach and I did all the way back. I think it was season 1, but we love that movie. But,
so much.
Diallo, I've got a whole mess of shit to talk about with Chico and the Man.
Chico and the Man.
All right.
Woo! Dude, so why don't you take us all the way back to 1974, 4 years before I was born.
Dang.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and Chico, don't be discouraged. Oh, I love that theme song
so good.
So much. I love it so much. Chico and the Man. It's a sitcom. It aired on NBC for 4 seasons from September 13th, 1974 to July 21st, 1978. It starred Freddie Prinze, who we all know today as the father of Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yes.
Mostly.
Sadly.
Yeah, sadly. And then it also starred Jack Albertson.
Look at me.
we know as the terrible Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka.
Yeah,
he was
It's
also
ours, Charlie.
in the Poseidon Adventure. He's an Oscar-winning performer. I did not realize that. And it was actually I didn't realize after all these years, I never realized he was Grandpa Joe. It's the same guy as Chico the Man. I was watching it. I was like, wait a minute, it's the same guy.
I have the reverse experience. I'm like, what the hell is Grandpa Joe doing here?
Yeah, so the show was based around. He was sort of like Grandpa Joe, the man. He was sort of like Archie Bunker, in that he was like Archie Bunker light, where he was very like grouchy, cantankerous. He was like he was a hard drinking widower who he runs a broken down garage in East Los Angeles. And Chico Rodriguez, who's Freddie Prinze Jr., he's like this cheerful, happy-go-lucky Mexican American, and he's looking for work, and he ends up like living in this van parked outside the garage. And there's a lot of like, racial tension is not the word, but Archie Bunker. There's always commentary, lots of like jokes of a racial nature, and like everything else. I mean, like we've started to say, hey, it was the 80s, but in this case, it was the 70s. But as time goes on, he starts to warm up to Chico, and he becomes like family. It's really interesting because this is the first network television show set in a Mexican American neighborhood.
Oh, cool.
And probably the last, especially after this new administration.
Right.
So it starred Jack Albertson, Freddie Prinze Jr., Freddie Prinze, who actually made his debut on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and that's where he kind of like got his profile and then got placed in the show. He was 20 when he started the show.
Damn.
Yeah. Wow.
It's like when you look at like how people look, like when you look at like old football players,
like 35.
Yeah, like you look at old football players and baseball players, and it's like they look 40 and they're really like 21. Yeah, it's like
it's the old 70s hairstyles and facial hair and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Albertson was probably like 44 or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like that. Yeah, like Wilford Brimley. Like isn't he like the same age as like
Paul Rudd?
Yeah,
Paul Rudd now and
so
everything.
crazy.
Yeah.
So it also had Della Reese, who some people might know her from Touched by an Angel.
Yeah.
I know her prominently from Harlem Nights.
Yeah.
Shot my pinky toe.
She was a singer too, wasn't she? She was a singer.
She's a singer. Yeah. And then another, all of our listeners will know who this is. Scatman Crothers.
Hell yeah.
You know him from The Shining. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He was the voice of Hong Kong Phooey, which is a show that cartoon. Like now that I'm thinking about it, probably will do that one day on TV Obscura.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And there's another cartoon that he did a voice for that you may have heard of. I'm just gonna skip over that. No, he was the voice
Jazz.
he was the voice of Jazz in Transformers.
Yeah,
iconic. Actually, I remember when I first watched, like back when 84 or whatever, and I was like, "Oh, that's Scatman. He's Jazz. It's so great." And he was
again, it's the complete opposite of me, because as I'm watching this episode, I mean, I know who he is and I've seen The Shining, but still, I'm like, all I can hear is Jazz.
Oh man, I mean, he was I think he still is. He's like my favorite Transformer, Jazz.
Oh hell yeah, Jazz, of course.
So. Yeah.
Did he get?
I mean, he's just like sweet. He died in the movie, right?
No, he survived.
He survived. Yeah.
Okay. He died in the Michael Bay movie. I remember that. I was
he was
so
the
mad.
one that died. He was like the only
Autobot
that died.
in half because Michael Bay is slightly racist.
Sucks.
So it also had Bonnie Ballin, who was in a Carol Burnett show, Love Boat. So one thing I want to bring up is that, like, we have to talk about this. So this show was really, really insanely popular. Freddie Prinze Jr. passed away. He died by suicide, which was probably my first experience in like even hearing about that term. And he was 22. And the show, was put on hiatus for a little bit, and they actually brought it back after that. And what they did was they brought in a young actor. It's like in a, how like they always bring like a little kid in to bring the energy back up on family shows, like Leonardo DiCaprio and Growing Pains, or like Cousin Oliver. In this case they did it, but like kind of differently. But it was Gabriel Melger, who was Raul, and he was like he was brought in the last season. It was a 12-year-old orphan that Ed adopts after Freddie Prinze's death. But the ratings just plummeted, obviously, after Freddie Prinze passed away, and it got canceled shortly after. One other character of note is Charo, who actually was frequently, you might know her from The Love Boat, because I think she has like the most guests. I can probably be making that up. She was on The Love Boat quite a bit.
Still looks great too for being like 80 years old or something.
Is she? I didn't even know.
Yeah, she still does those cruises. About a year ago, I saw her doing cruises.
Shit.
Yeah.
She's like a personality on the cruise ship, essentially. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
So it had it also, I started off with the theme song. And, we had talked about this a little bit before, but, it's like the pedigree of like a lot of these sitcoms. It's like they were actually written and sung by people that were pretty accomplished. So in this case, it was by Jose Feliciano.
Oh, so good.
If you've ever sang Feliz Navidad, he made that song.
Okay.
He did a cover of Light My Fire. He's won Grammy Awards.
California Dreamin' by him is amazing.
Yeah. So, the Chico and the Man, it was, I was pretty young when it was on. And this is a show, how like when you have like your older, there's an older brother, and that's how you they access certain types of music that wasn't necessarily in their range. I'm the oldest, but I have a cousin who was a few years older than me, and he was really into this show and some other shows. And it's like, he's like the reason that I watched this, this and like Sanford and Son and some other stuff. Because I would have if you just left me to my own devices, I would just been watching cartoons 24/7. And we used to get in fights about that, actually. But yeah, I'm really glad that that he was there for me to watch that. And again, I was a little too young to really understand. Like, I remember he died by suicide. I was like, what does that mean? So it's very tragic, but it was a very, very, very good show. So yeah, what did you guys think? What did you think, Zach?
So I've never seen Chico and the Man in my entire life. As a latchkey kid who grew up watching 70s TV shows, it was the one show I didn't see. And I'm not sure if the controversy that kind of shrouded it was the reason for that. I don't know if it was hard to find in syndication. I was readily, easily accessible for shows like Welcome Back, Kotter and Three's Company, but not with Chico and the Man. So this is the first time I've actually ever seen the show. And it was amazing. It was everything that I hoped it would be. From that theme song by Jose Feliciano, which is like, I think of the only other theme song I can think of that is notable that it probably people karaoke on a semi-regular basis that I was used to was like the Welcome Back, Kotter and Greatest American Hero. But I could easily see this one being karaokeed all the time too. The episode.
Real quick, I want to just interrupt you real quick because I forgot about this note, and you keep bringing up Welcome Back, Kotter, and actually was created. This show was created by James Comack, who also
did Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, did Welcome Back, Kotter, and The Courtship of Eddie's Father. If you've ever seen that. With, Bill Bixby, I think it was.
Yes, I saw that on Nick at Night. But this show you sent an episode to us where Chico woos this professor or this Latina lady, and I believe because her like ex-boyfriend looks just like him. Was that Tony Orlando?
Yeah, it was Tony Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't know who if you don't know who Tony Orlando is, during the Gulf War, he got a revival with tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree, because people were tying yellow ribbons to signify their support of the troops over in the Gulf. And he was touring again because of that and making a shit ton of money, and good for Tony Orlando. Anyways, I'd never seen him in anything other than like 80s and 90s stuff. So seeing him so young and strapping and like, good looking dude with his, 3-piece suit on, I was like, dang, the style back then. And LA is so different from New York. It's such a vibe, like back sitcom wise. This felt like an LA show.
It did. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So I loved it. I would happily watch this, on a regular basis now. And it's a bummer that, sadly the Freddie Prinze took his life, and because wow, what a talent. I never saw his stand up, and I know that's, like you said, he got his start on Johnny Carson doing that. All three of our guys are stand up comedians and clearly are excel at that. And I feel like there were moments where he would say things that I was like, oh, this is a bit he probably does, in his act.
Absolutely.
I loved it. So I'm glad you brought it to the table. What a great way to kick off our show.
Yeah, dude. It's weird. I have actually very similar experience as you, Zach.
It's because we're both white.
Might be true there, actually. I was born in 78.
Different
so
worlds.
Pretty much. I was born in 78, so of course it was like already ending by the time I was, born and everything. And it's funny because I've always heard Chico and the Man. Always have heard that, the name of it. Not gonna lie, didn't know anything about it. I always assumed that it was a Starsky and Hutch show. I always thought Chico and the Man was a cop show.
Yeah,
it's
Man.
funny because it's like I've always heard if it's two names, it's always like a cop show. A Scarecrow and Mrs. King or something. You know what I mean? It's
hilarious.
So I had no clue, and then I knew who Freddie Prinze was. And I knew about the suicide and stuff like that. But I mean, honestly, I know more about Freddie Prinze Jr. than I know about Freddie Prinze. So watching this, I was like, okay, when we started talking about things, what we're going to cover, I'm like, okay, this is a comedy. Awesome. Check it out. So this is all new to me. First off, I'm like, what the fuck? Is this Grandpa Joe? I didn't know. I've never seen him I've seen the Poseidon Adventure, but I don't remember him in it. So in my head, I've only ever seen him in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as the worst grandpa in the entire world.
Yeah.
Look at me. Look at me.
You should have been doing that the whole time, buddy. So I was like, I'm going in totally fresh, no idea what's happening. I fucking loved this episode that I watched the same one as they did. I was glued. I thought the chemistry was just straight fire. I thought Freddie Prinze was fucking hilarious and had so much like charisma and presence and everything. And then the opening credits were awesome, seeing East LA and all that kind of stuff. Zach, I'm with you. I'm sure Diallo, you feel the same way. But yeah, it's like such a different vibe to have the show be in LA versus like New York or something like that, or the Midwest or something. It's just LA is so very unique, Yeah. I mean, New York is too. You should say that as well. But like the writing was holy shit. It was so good. I actually wrote down one quote. I loved Scatman says, he goes, Chico, remember one thing. You may look like Thomas, but to me, y'all look alike. I was like, that was fucking hilarious. And yeah, I just was like, I loved every second of it. I am down to watch more. I can totally see myself like putting this on if it's on Amazon or something. I don't know, but if it's on some sort of streaming service, like I can see myself putting this on at night before I go to bed or something. But I was legit fucking laughing my ass off. And not gonna lie, I don't know if it's because it was such a great start to all three of these shows. I kind of watched them in order, but this put me in such a good mood that I kind of loved everything that we watched. Not quite the same levels of love, but it kind of kicked off things in the right way. I probably like this one the most. I probably think this one was the best one. And again, fucking seeing it for the first time in 2025, it's still funny. The jokes fucking landed, and everyone like had chemistry and presence on screen. And I'm just like, God damn, where's this show been all my life? So Diallo, thank you for fucking making me finally watch Chico and the Man.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, like in a way, it's not in a big way, it's not surprising you never saw it, despite the fact that both of you are white. Just because, because like, I knew the show, but I don't like after it was gone. Like it's one of those shows just faded away. Like,
yeah.
It was.
What do you think the suicide did like executives like once like it became sort of common knowledge? Did the show just kind of get buried because of the suicide?
No, I actually don't think so.
You're like,
I think
if it was bringing in money, they wouldn't care about that.
No, they wouldn't. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
they brought
they
the show back, right? Like, so I think it's a byproduct of the era.
Yeah.
Like. There was no, I mean, this was like 70s, so there wasn't even like VCRs weren't even like a thing at that point. So it just, and I think partly due to the nature of his passing, it didn't end up in like syndication, at least as far as because there was like a ton of shows I always watched in syndication years later, and this one just never popped up for me. So yeah, I can just see how it kind of existed for me as like a memory for these decades. And when I was go back and listen to the theme songs, I'd watch the opening all the time. But I've never like really come across it. Like, Welcome Back Kotter, I used to watch that in syndication for like years and years after it was over.
Well, I mean, Three's Company started in 76 but granted it went to 84. So it had.
I watch that all the way up into high school and then back after, like in college, because it was always on.
It was such a, like how in like the late 90s, maybe early aughts, like Seinfeld and Friends were like on every syndication during the week and everything. I feel like for the 80s, it was Three's Company. It just existed on like every night of the week, But again, they had so many seasons to pull from, whereas Chico and the Man only had, well, I guess technically 3 seasons and then like a little bit of a weird season.
Yeah, So it's like they had 4 seasons, but yeah, that third 4th season he was not with us.
Okay.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But so syndication was how a lot of TV shows in the 80s. So from the shows from the 60s and 70s used to appear. Like I used to watch like The Odd Couple. I watch them every night. It was just like that's what was on. Mary Tyler Moore Show,
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, Gilligan's Island. Yeah, Brady Bunch. Like those were the shows that were like always on, and this show just wasn't.
Yeah. No, I mean it wasn't but then again, all right, let me pose this to you. I also don't really remember seeing, and all the shows you just mentioned were 30-minute comedies, and so was this. Mm-hmm. But I also, just like while we're talking about syndication, I also don't really remember seeing like Starsky and Hutch in syndication. Were syndicated shows were 30-minute syndicated shows more prevalent than hour-long syndicated shows?
No, I used to see Starsky's. I mean, but it might just be like a local, because I remember watching it. I think it was like on TV 20 or something in the Bay Area, but those kind of shows too. Like when I'm thinking about it, TV 20 was like if you have like a hierarchy of stations, TV 20 was like a late comer, and it used to get kind of like not the top tier stuff, so they showed shows that were a little bit buried. So Starsky and Hutch was on there and some other shows. So maybe that's partly why. That's how I used to watch like Bigfoot and Wild Boy and all these other shows on TV 20, because they were the ones that had that little group of shows. So but this one in particular, I remember watching Street Hawk in the mornings on I think it was TV 20. Street Hawk with the motorcycle. It was like Knight Rider.
That show.
I feel like
we're gonna definitely do that.
Yeah. That one I feel like we've talked about before.
Rex Harrison.
Rex Harrison. Yeah. Anyway, so it just kind of faded. This show faded away, and I ran into Freddie Prinze Jr. at the ice cream shop up the street once with his kids. He seemed like a nice guy. Every time, like when he first appeared on the scene, and I was like, "Hey, that name is familiar," and I've always felt bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
because his dad died at probably such a
he
young
was-
age.
I don't even
for-
think I think he was barely born when it happened,
Oh.
so I don't
He
even
probably
think
didn't even know his
actually
dad.
remembers his dad.
Yeah.
Is Freddie Prinze Jr.'s mom? Is she anybody in the entertainment industry or?
I don't. That's actually funny. I think I feel like I knew that, and then I don't know. I think she was some blonde woman. I don't know.
Some blonde chick. Oh,
Well, yeah, because Freddie Prinze Jr. He's multiracial, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's I mean, I love that guy. He's freaking he's Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels. He's one of the most amazing Star Wars characters I've ever seen, and it was Rebels is great, and he will always be Kanan Jarrus to me. And of course, he was great in the Scooby-Doo
watched
movies as well.
I never watched it.
and I know what you did last summer.
Yeah, I hate those fucking movies because I hate 90s slashers so much. They all look like they were filmed like as an episode of Dawson's Creek. Like even Scream, I thought it looks so like a TV show.
You hate 90s? Oh my god!
I hate 90s slashers so much.
Guess
If it
we'll
wasn't
never-
David's
for
rolling over his
Scream-
grave right now.
If it wasn't for Scream, I mean, I don't know that you'd be watching many horror movies right now.
Yeah, we wouldn't have Dawson's Creek if it wasn't for Scream.
And now the funny thing is, I did watch Dawson's
We
Creek.
wouldn't have Kevin Williamson got.
I mean,
his
yeah,
start.
like it looked like Dawson's Creek,
But I expect
because
more
it was
from
the
a
same,
movie.
Same writer.
Yeah, same writer. Yeah, but I mean, Scream brought back horror movies. They were gone
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got the Saw. We got the Saw series.
Saw.
Chico the Man, that was awesome, buddy. I fucking loved it. Diallo, thank you so much for that one.
Yeah.
Zach? Where's Rodney?
Well,
hey. Hey.
Hey, I'm tripping because Where's Rodney? A one episode sitcom aired for one time. Actually, technically 2 times. It was a failed pilot starring Rodney Dangerfield. I'll get to the rest of the cast in just a minute, but it was a pilot featuring Rodney Dangerfield that NBC did not want, but they aired it anyway. When did they air it? On my birthday.
That's why
June
you like
11,
the show.
1990. I was 13 going on 14, just like the main character in the pilot. The main character played by Jared Rushton, who you'll know from Big, and you'll know from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. His sister in this show is played by Amy O'Neill, who's also an alum of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And Jared is named Rodney, and he's what's funny is this show was written and produced by Phil. Well, there's a bunch of people who produced it, but 2 standout names, Phil Duran and Cy Rosen, aka David Nesser and Gary Hammond. Well, one of those guys actually worked on Wonder Years, and I'm like, oh, that's funny because this character Jared Rushton plays Rodney. He narrates his life very much like the Wonder Years. But Where's Rodney did so poorly, it got dumped by NBC. But then NBC decided a year later to try it again and dumped it again after that same one episode, which I think is hilarious. So, yeah, it stars Rodney Dangerfield, Jared Rushton, Thea Fadal, who plays a teacher on the show. She had her own sitcom called Thea. I think it lasted 1 or 2 seasons. Soleil Moon Frye, Punky Brewster, makes an appearance after many years, probably off screen. She's a sidekick on this show. And my guess is that she's got a crush on the main character, Rodney, the boy, and that would develop.
They would have
into
played
something.
that out, over the
Yeah.
course of the series, yeah.
Brecken Meyer. who-
Fucking Breckenmeyer.
Yeah, that was a trip. That was a trip.
You know, I think most people know him from Clueless, but I love him from Freddy's Dead. No, I'm kidding. He was actually in a movie called Rat Race, which is pretty funny. Rat Race is one of those throwback to the 60s movies. Like it's a mad, 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 mad world where everyone's like going in, trying to get a fortune, you know, and it's got a bunch of different iconic actors in it, guest appearances. Jay Thomas, who for many years I loved and idolized. I loved Jay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I know him from Murphy Brown. It's weird. I was a massive Murphy Brown kid. I watched the hell out of that
I
show.
think that movie was kind of shoved down that show was shoved down our throats.
That's actually not weird to me.
Yeah,
You want to know why, Corey? Because you really loved Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, I did. Yeah, it was the same creator, same.
It's the same vibe.
Same
setup.
vibe.
Yeah.
He was
it's
also
just like different decades, but it was basically the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I think maybe being raised by my mom, I like strong female characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like he was a stand-up comedian as well. He would make guest appearances on a lot of shows. In this, he plays Rodney's dad.
He was in one of my all-time favorite movies.
Which is
Mr. Holland's Opus.
Oh yeah, he's great in that. He's terrific in that. So the show is about a kid, Rodney, who goes about his daily life, and when he idolizes Rodney Dangerfield, and when he's in a bind and in trouble, he calls upon Rodney, the real Rodney Dangerfield, who gets sucked through a wormhole into Rodney's real life to help him solve his problems. In this pilot, the problems range from having a crush on a girl and not knowing how to talk to her. So Rodney kind of helps him do that. Rodney Dangerfield, of all people. And then the kid has his 13th going on 14th birthday party. And he's supposed to his grandparents are supposed to take him out for dinner, and he finds a way. Rodney Dangerfield helps him solve his problem because he's going to go on a date with said girl at the same time. So, and then of course the girl is dating some bully at the end of the episode, and Rodney helps him get over that, sort of. It's all silly. It's all, a vehicle for Rodney to do his shtick, when Rodney Kid meets Rodney Dangerfield, he says, he's like, my name's Rodney, not Jeannie. Do I look like I live in a bottle? Some nights I do. Hey, stuff like that. Like all the, my wife's so dumb, or my girlfriend's so dumb, it takes her 90 minutes it takes her an hour and a half to watch 60 Minutes, which is a rundown joke. The whole don't respect thing. And, this is 1990. Rodney Dangerfield was starting to, his shtick was starting to wear thin. The 80s were really prime time for Rodney Dangerfield.
When was Ladybugs? Wasn't that in the 90s?
Yeah, I think it was 90, 91.
93.
Yeah. And so that's when he started kind of, I do too. I think Jonathan Brandis, rest in peace. He started to jump the shark in the mid 90s. His stuff he just wasn't getting the best quality scripts and movies from that point on, But look, I love Rodney Dangerfield. He could do no wrong in my book. So him doing his shtick, it's so nostalgic and oh yeah, I remember that time. I didn't miss that time. This is 90 minutes of your life, 30 minutes of your life. You're not gonna lose a whole lot of life by watching this pilot if you watch it on YouTube. The quality's shit, but there's some commercials throughout, which is really fun too. To see the hot new comedy of the summer, Seinfeld, is on NBC.
I loved that.
So,
great.
go check out Where's Rodney, and I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts. So start with Diallo. What are your thoughts about Where's Rodney? Which I think Thea Fidel probably sang the theme song to that.
I told my wife the truth. I told her I was seeing a psychiatrist. Then she told me the truth. She was seeing a psychiatrist, 2 plumbers, and a bartender.
No respect.
That was terrible. It was not. So this was not a bad show by any stretch, but I saw why it didn't go past
make it
the
past
pilot.
One episode.
Yeah, but there was nothing wrong. I laughed and everything, but it just didn't have that whatever that you get from shows that last. It's just I don't know what it was, but actually I do know what it was, because there was a little bit of a feeling of a bait and switch with it.
Oh, totally.
And because it was I show up to see Rodney Dangerfield, and
he's in 2 scenes.
Yeah, he's in 2 scenes.
3,
yeah,
technically.
Well,
3.
that last one he's got like one line.
So
in
doesn't
that last
that
scene.
doesn't that fuel the name of the show? Where's Rodney? He's not.
Yeah.
And it felt like how they did some cartoons with like Life of Louie or
Rover
yeah.
Dangerfield. He had his own movie. It was called Rover Dangerfield.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember
Yeah.
that one. But I think Diallo was thinking more like Camp Candy.
Oh,
yeah.
Bobby's
like,
World.
Like this
Bobby's
felt like
World.
it should have been maybe an animated show.
Yeah, like because
yeah.
like they had shows like that where it's like it would have the person's name, but it was like a younger version of them or something.
Life with
and
Lou
that-
is great.
Yeah, so I mean that's just kind of what it felt. There was a commercial for a Louis.
There
show
was, yeah.
also like a
Yeah,
TV
the
show. I
Louis
was like,
show.
whoa, that's crazy. I didn't know he had one. Yeah, so I mean, I thought it was fine. It was really fun just to kind of look at the actors. I was like, oh, Soleil Moon Frye, like that's cool. It was only a few years after Punky Brewster,
Right?
The older daughter, the blonde, she was like I looked her up. She was in
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
And then I was like, oh, she looks like she'd be my type. And then I checked her out and see what she's up to now.
What is she up to now?
I don't know,
She lives right down the street
she
from
li-
you. in
yeah,
Santa
I was
Monica.
like she said she lives in Palisades, but that's not a lot going on over there right now. But I don't know, maybe she's around. Maybe I'll see her now. Maybe she goes to my gym. I don't know.
She legit, yeah, it's 1971. Yeah.
Yeah, she's my I don't know. She's probably married though, but whatever. I can deal with
You
that.
take that dude out.
Yeah.
Stalk me home tonight. Check her out on Instagram and see if she's right.
But I actually was really impressed with the cast. Like to have now, I don't know. It's not like they all are whatever, but they were all like I knew who most of them were.
Jared Rushton was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, it was just like because you don't know like a lot of those shows. Like even we watched what do you call it? It's Your Move. It was like. I was like, oh, like whatever. But like in this case, it's like I knew most of the cast, and it just, but for whatever reason, the show just didn't pop. And that's all I've got to say about it.
Probably didn't pop because Jared Rushton had a sweet mullet. He had a Corey Stevenson mullet.
Dude, my note right here is little Rodney. I had the exact hairstyle because you can tell his hair's curly,
Yes,
and he wants to have the mullet, but the back curled instead of went straight down. I 100% had the exact same fucking hair.
Yes.
So I mean, but yeah, kind of like Diallo. I'm watching this. I'm actually having a really good time with this show. It turned out to be a little bit sweeter than I thought it was going to be. I thought Rodney Dangerfield maybe was going to be a little bit more of a jerk, but he's not, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of nice. I thought some of his shtick, some of his bits were pretty good, like when he was fencing or whatever, and he's about to teleport, so he's like, and then the guy sort of hits him. He's like, hey, take it easy, you got me right in the touche. And I was like, that was good. And then later he's like, family's important, you can't forget your family, they won't let you. And I was like, yeah, that was good too. But I think
love it.
and then obviously Soleil Moon Frye and all this kind of stuff. I was like, oh, cool, seeing all them and everything. But I think it's both you guys are exactly like, I'm with both you guys. One, Zach, you're right. Like it's like, where's Rodney in this thing? He's like in 2 scenes. And then Diallo, I'm with you. It's like all the
3
pieces are there, all the parts are there, but something's just not clicking. And I don't know if this would help, but 2 things. One, I was like, first off, I was thrown off by the fact that like Rodney Dangerfield, it's really him getting teleported. I thought that he was going to be just in the kid's head.
Me too.
Type of thing. And if that were the case, I think you could have actually had Rodney Dangerfield in the show more, and maybe no one else can see him or whatever.
Just narrating.
Or something. And I'm just like, I think right away the concept of the show was already flawed by making Rodney Dangerfield actually the real actor getting teleported. Now, granted, It's still an idea that I think somebody like on Adult Swim could really have fun with, like a Rick and Morty type of scenario. Like someone could have some nowadays with a concept like this, they would be doing some weird shit with
It's called being John Malkovich. Actually.
Right, exactly. Like this came out before that.
Yeah.
And also too, I think this would have been maybe perfect, but again, it's before the Critic, it's before Duckman, and I think it would have been perfect like a Fox animated adult sitcom with Rodney Dangerfield. I think that this show just it had some good ideas, but it landed at the wrong time. It needed to probably come at maybe a different time later in the 90s or something, be an animated series, or switch up the concept so that he's not the real Rodney Dangerfield teleporting away every single time. I think just make him in the kid's head, you know?
One thing I think would have made it was almost like it was too high concept to actually work on the level that it was presented. So
right.
And another thing, if this had been a show from the 50s and had done the same thing, people would have just bought it, I think.
Oh, people loved it back then.
But by the time you get to like 1990, it's like I think it's like, no, I want a little bit more. Like, how does this work? Like, what's going on? And I think that's one of the ways the show stumbles is because he just shows up and I'm not willing to buy that, you know?
Yeah.
It's it's so high concept. I need to know like what's going on. I need to know like because actually, I wasn't paying attention very closely for a portion, and but then I actually thought that he was like, what's his name, Jared Rushton?
Rushton, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that he was like a younger version of Rodney Dangerfield.
That's what I thought going into the show.
Pulling him, I thought he was pulling him in the future, and he was like trying to coach him on how to. I don't know why you would want to grow up to be like the Rodney Dangerfield to like learn how to, but I thought that that's what was kind of going on. And so it just I don't know, it would have had a little bit more heart that way.
Yeah.
I still don't know if it would have worked, but it felt like I needed a little bit more. But like I said, if this was a show from 1955, we would have just put a laugh track on it, and it would have been on for 7 seasons. So.
Right, but like here, like I feel like it, it also missed some jokes where it's like, he teleports, brings Rodney here, but maybe he doesn't have the ability to send him back, so Rodney's always got to like take a cab back. He's like, where am I? What the hell, And Rodney Dangerfield didn't seem too freaked out about the fact that he's teleporting away.
Yeah.
Zach, did you realize at dinner that date he's having? That was Medusa from TerrorVision.
Oh yeah, that's right. So go back into our archives of Podcasting After Dark when we broke down TerrorVision. That's wild. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you didn't recognize her because her giant cleavage wasn't hanging out.
That's true. That's true. And oh god, you totally just derailed my thought.
Derailed your thought.
So first of all, Jared has his little one-liner about the girl that he's got a crush on. She's wearing a polka dot shirt, and he's like, I'd like to connect her dots, which I thought was mildly inappropriate for a 13-year-old, but kind of tracks because 13-year-olds can be perverted in the 80s and 90s. And also, too, there's a sweet Dick Tracy commercial in the beginning of this episode. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of want to rewatch Dick Tracy. I haven't watched that since I saw it in the theater and had the toys by Playmates.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, way back when. And also, too, oh God, I totally dropped it. Your Medusa line took me out of it.
Threw you out of it.
Yeah, but just the fact that at first, like watching this, I totally forgot what the premise. I knew what the premise was, but I forgot that he was like real. And when I did realize that, I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird. And also, I thought his mom at first was like a single mom, which I thought was like, oh, this would track again why I like this, at this time, but not, because Jay Thomas is his dad. But I love the line where his dad's like, we'll take you to the movies and your mom and I can make out. Like that's really fucking funny.
I like their couple. I thought that was kind of cool,
Yeah, I thought there was some cool little dynamics there. And yeah, seeing Soleil Moon Frye, like that's kind of a big deal to have her in such a small role as a supporting character. That's shocking. But it is fact. She's talked about it in interviews. She hit puberty pretty early on, and she was like very it was not good for her. Like she developed way too early, as according to her. So she was very self-conscious about it. That's why she wears like really baggy clothes in this. And she said she felt it hurt her career because they didn't want to cast her as like this bubbly young little kid when she looked like, va-va-voom. So, unfortunately, whatever. So, and that Jared Rushton kid, I'm like, this kid was actually a pretty decent actor, like he's funny, and he never really went on to a whole lot after this.
What about Breckin Meyer?
Breckin Meyer,
and Breckin Meyer had like barely any screen time in this episode.
This is
he
his
had a
start.
few lines, but this is his start. But I mean, honestly, at this point, he's probably the biggest name here, aside from Rodney Dangerfield.
Was Honey,
nowadays,
I Shrunk the Kids the 80s or 90s?
It was 80. I feel like it was 89, but then there were like 2 or 3 sequels, right? And I think the kids were in the TV show, and I feel like the kids were in at least 1 or 2 of the sequels,
and a Disney movie thingy.
Yeah,
at the park at Disneyland.
Yeah, and Jared Rushton was he was Tom Hanks' best buddy in Big. Was his buddy in, and he was also in a movie Overboard, which is a pretty funny
that's what
Kurt Russell Goldie Hawn movie.
Russell, yeah,
where she loses her memory or whatever. Anyways, I just think it's hilarious that I agree with you guys. This definitely should have been an animated show, but the fact that NBC's like, we don't want it, but we're gonna air it anyways, like
twice.
Screw you, NBC. And I'm sure Rodney didn't get any residuals for that.
I think there was a couple years ago, a documentary series came across my like Hulu, Amazon, something, but I think it was like Soleil Moon Frye had
it's a good show. It's on Hulu.
Okay, is she documented the 80s essentially? I guess because while she was working, she had a camera or something like that.
80s and 90s. Yeah.
Okay, and she actually documented a lot of it. So is it worth watching that?
Oh,
one?
totally. Oh, it's great. I mean, if you love, I think Diallo, you'd absolutely love it because she interviews all those stars from 90210 and all the shows that we grew up watching in the 80s and 90s because she was buddies with all of them. They all partied together. So the show is about it's like one part nostalgia, one part cautionary tale, and it's a documentary. And I forget what it's called. Yeah, I think Kid 90.
Kid 90. Yeah, that's it.
Definitely worth checking out if you love these shows.
Okay. Yeah, that was on my radar, and then totally forgot about it. But now seeing her, I'm like, oh yeah, wasn't there something like that?
I'll tell one quick fun fact that Diallo will connect with. We have a mutual friend in this woman named Lindsay Parker, who's a big 80s fan, but she's a interviewer, a blogger, vlogger, whatever, a big personality in the music scene because she interviews all those people. And she had a birthday party a while back, and we went to the birthday. Kristen and I went to the birthday party, and there was a dude there. He liked my shirt. I was wearing a Tough Turf t-shirt, and the guy's like, I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. We had this long discussion, and I'm like, oh, cool, man. What's your name? And I forget his first name now. It doesn't matter. But his last name was Meyer. He says, you might know my brother, Breckin Meyer. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. So this guy, I guess, helped his brother, Breckin Meyer's brother, helped forge one of those, not G4, but one of those kind of show channels, video game channel or whatever. Anyways, I guess Breckin's still acting, so God bless him.
Yeah, he's still doing stuff, right?
Yeah, but he's a little guy, he's like,
he's a little dude. Yeah,
he's a little guy.
He's a little guy. Okay, all right.
Oh,
hey. Honestly, I didn't when I was watching the episode that you sent, I didn't know that it was just that pilot. So I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that there's nothing else after that. So.
That's it.
I assumed it was on for at least 8 episodes or something.
It didn't even make it.
Definitely didn't even hear. I'd never heard of it.
It kind of had potential to. I mean, you think of all the drab stuff that made it at least 4 or 5 episodes. This could have made at least one more episode.
You could at least get 6 or 7.
I had so many questions. I'm like, come on.
It's weird. It was good. It was good enough to at least air it though, because there's a lot of times they won't even air something, right?
Yeah.
just love that they passed on it and then they're like, yeah, we'll show it anyway. We don't want this show, but we're gonna.
So you just said they dropped it in the summer. Is that what
they did? They said they dropped it on my birthday, but like NBC didn't even want it. But I guess because they paid money to get it made, they're like, well, we better air it.
I wouldn't be surprised with Rodney Dangerfield. He might have, you better put that on the air, or like had something in the contract that even if it doesn't get picked up, it at least gets aired or something,
There are some random shows that they've dropped in the summer that I've watched over the years, and they're always interesting. I don't know. They're like not good enough to like make it, but I enjoyed the little moments that I had.
Right.
With them.
Hey everybody, Corey here. I just want to let you know that we'll be right back after these short messages.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim.
And I'm Dean.
And we're the hosts of Talking Back. We're a retro-based podcast covering movies, comics, video games, and more.
Check us out every Monday where we hit the rewind button and dig into some of our favorite content from the past. We like to keep things fun, lighthearted, and informative.
Do you feel like you need more nostalgia in your life? Then check out Talking Back. We're available everywhere podcasts are found.
And now, back to the show.
Speaking of shows that didn't last very long.
Yeah, well, exactly. So we're going to move to the mid-90s, 1995, to Bless This House with Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh!
Bless This House was an American sitcom created by Bruce Helford, which starred Andrew Dice Clay and Catherine Moriarty and aired on CBS for 16 episodes from September 95 to January 96. Bruce Helford co-created The Drew Carey Show, The Norm Show, and was an executive producer and writer on season 5 of Roseanne. So it had some little bit of pedigree there. It's, like I said, it stars Andrew Dice Clay, which, of course, we all know, fucking The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. But, I mean, he's also a damn good actor because he's also in A Star Is Born and whatnot.
He's a damn good... He's been around for a really long time, yeah.
Well, Zach, was he in The Wildlife was he a bouncer in The Wildlife, or was that something else? Or was that... no, that was American... goddamn, Last American Virgin. Wasn't he in that?
No, so he was actually in Making the Grade, which I think Making the Grade was Judd Nelson was in that, and he was in Night Patrol, which was another kind of edgy, and Private
He was in Casual Sex?
Yes, but I think you're thinking of Private Resort. Private Resort with Johnny Depp was in that, and Rob Morrow. That was a sex comedy from the 80s as well. Very underrated, 85, but he was in that. I think that's what you're thinking of. Pretty in Pink. And and then Casual Sex was when he started taking off a little bit more.
I picked up I think it was MVD or somebody had the Casual Sex VHS, cover. I picked it up. I had never actually seen it before, and I didn't even know Andrew Dice Clay was in it. So I was completely pleasantly surprised and very much enjoyed that.
Yeah, and he's been in whether fuck the fact that he's a piece of shit, but Woody Allen movies. He's been in some really good. Blue Magnolia, some Woody Allen movie he did, Blue Jasmine. He's great in Blue Jasmine. Acting his ass off in that. So, anyways.
Yeah, he's remarkably a good actor. And the funny thing is, I just pretty much know him as Ford Fairlane. It also stars Kathy Moriarty. Most people probably know her from Raging Bull and Soap Dish. Zach, I kind of don't really know her. Is there anything else I'm kind of missing for her?
She's in Kindergarten Cop. She's great. She's got a small little scene in that, but it's a pivotal role where you're like, is she the one that Arnold Schwarzenegger's looking for? Okay. She's great though, and apparently, she's really good friends with Richard Tyson from, you guys know Richard Tyson.
I was just about to say
JP's.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide.
But she's again another great actor, just tour de force actor.
Yeah, yeah. Also, Don Stark is in this. Probably everybody knows him from that '70s show, The Dad, on there. But I mean, he's been in a ton of shit. Peggy Sue Got Married. Like this dude's been acting for a while. But again, it's so funny because I always know him as Pinciotti, on that '70s show. That's kind of where I first saw him or first recognized him. And then it's so funny because then you realize that like he's been around ever since like the '70s and shit.
I think he's always been wearing a toupee his entire life too.
And he kind of always sort of acts the same. The kids on it, I kind of didn't recognize, and maybe they're in things, that I don't really know, like Sam Gifaldi, Reagan Kotz, are the two kids that are in this, and I'm looking through their stuff, and I never even watched any of their things. Is there anything there, Zach, that I'm missing with them?
No, but that kid has a sweet mullet. The kid.
Oh, dude. Yeah, his hair is amazing.
I'm like, wow, 2 shows with mullets. Amazing.
But the show did have some pretty awesome like guest stars. Ren T. Brown was in like an episode. Brad Dourif, Burt Young was there. Rosie O'Donnell was in an episode. We even have Jay Thomas was in an episode as well. So there's a lot of people came through it, and it's like your typical, King of Queens style show where you got your parents, you got Andrew Dice Clay's the dad and the mom, Kathy Moriarty's the mom, they have the 2 kids, and it's one of those shows where I don't know if Roseanne started it or whatever, but like the idea is that they were cool when they were younger and now they're the adults and they're not so cool now. And the one episode I watched, I don't know if you did, the daughter's 13th birthday, Howie Mandel is actually in that episode because she's
sure is.
The daughter's kind of like has this pen pal thing with a serial killer.
Interesting material.
I know, such a weird like.
I actually don't think I've
episode.
seen that in TV ever.
It was amazing. I was like, we're really going there. We're really going there. Okay,
it goes there. It completely goes there. I feel like it kind of lacks, the King of Queens having like, Frank Costanza, Stiller, Jerry Stiller. Like it lacks having like the older couple or the older parent or something in it. But I'm watching the episode and it's got like all the pieces. And I'm enjoying myself, and I actually think everyone has chemistry. I think everyone works well. I think Andrew Dice Clay is doing a damn good job. Like, he's not Ford Fairlane, and this is only like a few years afterwards, and he's not playing Ford Fairlane. He's actually playing this kind of a sweet dad he's not a moron, but he's also, not quite in touch with, the younger crowd. And I liked him doing like DJing and everything like that.
Amazing.
It was
so funny.
was wonderful. Like I really liked it, but at the same time, it was kind of my least favorite of all of them because it was just so by the numbers. I felt it was so weirdly, even though the episode was bonkers with having a serial killer being Howie Mandel, it still felt. The show still felt kind of safe. And here's the thing. I don't want it to be edgy. I actually like the vibe of the show. I actually liked what Andrew Dice Clay was doing. But Diallo, to kind of quote you, I just felt like it lacked just a little bit of like something, just that X factor to kind of give it that punch, And obviously, I guess I'm not too off the mark because it only lasts, 16 episodes. But it's just so weird that I'm watching it. I don't even like really have any notes for it for that episode. My note is lots of 90s music references in this episode, which is kind of cool. And then my other note is Howie Mandel is in this ep. And I'm just like, it was funny. I had a good time with it, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it like I loved Chico and the Man. Rodney, where's Rodney just had first off, it had Rodney Dangerfield in it, which is always fun, but the concept just was interesting enough to keep me going. This felt like your standard fare King of Queens sitcom, but then Diallo, why does King of Queens last 9 years, 9 seasons? You know what I mean? And then this lasts 16 episodes. There's some sort of X factor.
Thing, basically.
It's the exact same thing. It really is.
I have a little bit of thoughts about it because I think so by this point in time, Andrew Dice Clay's like you were talking about Rodney Dangerfield.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Steel.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh,
Hey.
that's Rodney Dangerfield and Andrew Dice Clay had a kid.
Yeah, but you know, Rodney Dangerfield, like by his shtick had gotten old. And like Andrew Dice Clay, he was kind of like he burned bright, and then when he went out, and so by
Right.
the time. There's a little bit of a feeling I think that I had when I was watching this. I didn't know when it came on, and now that I know it was like 95. I really can see it, where it's like he definitely was past his pop, and then they were just trying to find something to put him in to keep him going. And so there's a little bit of a feeling of like cynicism around it, where like that, I think that's what you're talking about, where it registers as like just standard, and as edgy as some of the content was, the setup felt very safe, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that's because he wasn't like riding a wave up. He was just it was sort of like, oh, let's try to like revive his career kind of thing. And I think that's why it just didn't have that. It just like lots of things have to come together a lot. Like you just never know, right? Like I remember that like when Martin came on, like that was him like coming up, right? This show was just like, well, he was up, he went down, and then when you turn on the TV, it's like, oh, that guy, and he was doing a version of himself still, and that was already kind of, and I actually enjoyed. I liked the episode. Like it was probably my second favorite. But
Next to Where's Rodney?
I definitely hear what you're saying, and I definitely agree, and I get it. It was like, again, like what you were saying with the King of Queens, whatever. You said King of Queens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, like why did that show last? And like I don't know, why is Seinfeld? Why do some shows last? Why does It's Your Move didn't last?
Well, it's funny, Diallo. You mentioned Seinfeld, and like the first season of Seinfeld is not great. Like those first like 8 or 9 episodes or something.
Yeah, I remember when it was almost canceled.
It almost didn't make it, you
Yeah.
know. And who knows? Maybe this show would have been retooled if it was given a chance or something. But
It was the
Yeah,
hit of Seinfeld was the hit of the summer in 1990. No, but I think Diallo, you hit the nail on the head. So I was glued to Entertainment Tonight back in the day. I think I watched that religiously. It was like my news. That's where I got all my news from.
me too.
And I remember distinctly. First of all, side note: Kevin James was really coming up. He was hot when that show came out, and that's probably why. To add on to what you said earlier, Diallo, about you're going up and then you hit that lightning bolt and you keep going, as Dusty Rhodes would say. But Dice, I remember they distinctly said, this is a new avenue for Andrew Dice Clay. He's going to try something different, a softer version of Andrew Dice Clay. And there was that could be an 80s Kids Unite episode. Like the attacks from the mothers, like Al Gore's, Tipper Gore's wife, they had that whole society where they would like boycott these things that they didn't approve of. And Andrew Dice Clay was controversial as shit. He offended everybody. So, but that was his style of comedy. And it obviously didn't appeal to a wider audience. And I think 5 years after Fort Fairlane, he was still, labeled as that guy who was like, he hated women, he hated homosexuals, but he didn't. It was just his shtick, as far as I know. But then this show comes along, and I don't know if this is a remake of a show from the 70s, because there is a show called Bless This House from 1971, which is based on a movie from 1971 or 2. Anyways, or flip those dates. I think it might be connected to that. Like, oh, we're going to reboot this show.
Like a loose reboot. Yeah.
And put this guy in the lead and give him a new vehicle. Look, if you look at Dice now, from the roles he's had since then, he has played Blue Dahlia or Blue Jasmine or whatever is a perfect example. He's like such a softer guy. And we are also a more sophisticated, in some ways, audience where we like get it now. Like it's an act, Pauly Shore was the weasel and also a shitty actor. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe a piece of shit outside of being the Weasel, you know, because apparently he was. But like, you know what I mean? Like, no, Pauly Shore is Pauly Shore. He's the Weasel from Son-in-Law. He's so sweet. No, he's not. It's like we are a wiser audience in the sense that we realize that these are roles they're playing. Dice was playing a character, the Dice Man, and wasn't doing. It was Andrew Clay in this.
You
right?
bring up something really interesting. I was thinking about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, he was playing a character, and you juxtapose this versus Chico and the Man, and that show was like jokes.
Yes,
it was like solid foundation of comedy,
right?
And I think about like Seinfeld was a different brand, but it still was there. Even like Friends, like all those shows had this structure of like jokes and comedy, and like or a person actually being funny, as opposed to Andrew Dice Clay or like Rodney Dangerfield. You bring up Pauly Shore. Yeah, I used to watch. I used to tune into like MTV just to see Pauly Shore being quirky, but like Paul Rubens, the same. Like they were all characters.
Perfect example.
Once you kind of get tired of the character, there's hardly anywhere else for them.
Where do
to
they go?
If
Where do
they're
they go?
not. Especially if they're not like, particularly good actors that can disappear into a different role.
Right.
So
that's
maybe
why
yeah.
Sam Kinison didn't get a sitcom. He was supposed to. He was supposed to get a sitcom, and apparently, because I was doing some research, I'm like, how many of these stand-up comedians that we love from this era got their own shows? And he apparently was supposed to, and it never took off.
But he did get a guest spot on Married with Children.
But that tags with what Diallo's saying, that you play this role one time.
Yeah, because he was exactly the same. He was Sam Kinison, even though I think he was playing an angel as a Christmas episode or something.
Say it.
Right, but Paul Rubens is he's a really good actor. However, he's not going to carry his own show as Paul Rubens.
Right.
He's going to be the supporting guy in Mystery Men who farts all the time. That's a great character.
Yeah.
But like,
or Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He
or
was
Bu-
great in that. The movie.
but as a supporting character, which is, I'm not saying Andrew Dice Clay should be a supporting character. I really like this show.
I actually feel like he would have, like, if he had been that, like, Corey, you were saying, like, need the older character to make it fun. If he was that older character and it was like younger parents, I think that he would fit into that role. And he did have like I think he did have a show much later.
He did
on, but it was sort of like a semi-documentary, like a live one of those.
He had a reality show, like
Yeah.
I think it was called Dice or something.
Yeah,
on Showtime.
I remember that. Showtime, yeah, Showtime. I never saw it because I never
It's
had
not
Showtime.
bad.
Yeah, that's
Neither
right.
did I. I saw it in like reruns or something.
And it had gone past that, then you have that nostalgia factor coming in that let it be for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, so anyways, I think that's why the show didn't.
Yeah, agreed.
Like,
Yeah,
I totally agree.
I'm with you guys, but the irony is we're sitting here talking about what works, doesn't work. I think he was great on this. I actually liked what he was doing, but it just didn't work overall.
I love, because let's be honest, a lot of people probably aren't going to watch this episode of Bless This House. So the daughter has an assignment at school where she has to write people who are in jail, and the person who corresponds with her is a serial killer. We later find out it's Howie Mandel, and they're like have this, not a relationship, but they have a cordial kind of back and forth with each other. It is so bonkers because he killed like 17 people or something and that is the premise of that's like the part 2 of this show. It's so wild, and Howie Mandel is so funny, and people forget before he became the AGT guy, Howie Mandel is an amazing comedian too. And if we ever do like Bobby's World and like you said, Diallo, Louis, kid, whatever.
I grew up on fucking Bobby's World. I watched the fuck out of Bobby's World as a kid.
Amazing. It's so, and Howie Mandel is really like so much more than just his shtick on AGT. But like it's such a random thing, and Dice has his moments where he's like, he has these things. It's like his isms come out, and you're like, yeah, that's what I love. But of course, like I think the only people that are really gonna appreciate that are the diehard Dice fans.
Yeah, unfortunately. For me, I think it went Chico and the Man, I liked Rodney. I thought it was fun, and I mean, I still liked Bless This House. I just was like, I just didn't have anything noteworthy to kind of say about it, because it just kind of it was just a cookie cutter, picture perfect sitcom.
Isn't that what King of Queens is? It's like this.
I know,
but again, like Diallo said, it's like he struck at the right time.
I think that's the X factor, is that, I mean, nothing is. I guess what I should say is nothing is wrong about Bless This House. Nothing is wrong there. But I think you're right. I think there's a lack of momentum behind the star at the time, and I think it's palpable. And I think it's also, well, I want to say it's palpable in Where's Rodney, but I don't know, because Where's Rodney, like, Rodney Dangerfield still had a presence. Like, he's still Rodney Dangerfield in that. But it's just the fact that it's 1990, and, you know, we all know that kind of the 80s were the best time for Rodney Dangerfield, you know, but it's just like, there's something that just, you could feel the lack of energy behind Andrew Dice Clay in Bless This House. I think that's the problem.
Ladybug still rules. Ladybug still rules.
I love that.
Katherine Heigl is in that movie too, I think. Yeah.
Was she one of the players?
I think she's one of the players. I think. I could be wrong. I think I'm wrong. But whatever. I'm just going to say I'm right. But I'm probably
right
wrong.
Or is you is? Who else was that? Who was
well, Jonathan Brandis, and I feel like, you know who was in that
name?
from 227? Jack A.
Jack
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's so right. Oh,
I didn't have to look that up because
Yeah.
I watched that movie on repeat back in the day. Ladybugs. If y'all like Ted Lasso, go watch Ladybugs.
Yeah, Jack A is second build.
That's 1992.
I remember that was one of my video store when I was working in the video store. I rented that.
Yeah, dude, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Catherine, what's her face from she's not in it.
You might be thinking of maybe Vanessa Shaw or something like that.
Maybe.
But I pulled up the IMDb. I was just curious. But yeah, Diallo, any final thoughts on these three shows?
No, I mean, I actually liked all of them, you know, enough. Like even the Rodney did, like I didn't hate it. I just, you know, I saw the flaws in it, but I still I laughed at the jokes and, you know, laughed at him and everything. So it was all good. I actually did like the Andrew Dice Clay one. I had never heard of either of the shows though, which is really interesting. Like you hadn't heard, maybe because they're white people.
Yeah.
And I don't know any white shows. Yeah. So no, I really, this was really fun. When you guys brought up the idea of doing comedian based shows, I was like, oh man, this would be a great time to do Chico and the Man.
I think people forget about that show. So
yeah. So yeah.
Well, and to pull the curtain back, I should also tack on, even though I took the Andrew Dice Clay show, it was kind of, Zach suggested it. I had never heard of it before. 95, I was my junior year in high school. So I think I was doing things, you know what I mean? Like, I think I was out and about and stuff. I mean, I don't even know what night of the week it came on. Maybe I think Wednesday or something like that. So
I was looking at every excuse to do Where's Rodney. So thank you guys for picking shows that I liked more than Where's Rodney. So.
Oh, see, it's so funny. I think I liked Where's Rodney the most out of everybody.
I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed it, but the one episode, like, come on, give this show a break.
Yeah, no, seriously. I think they could have done some stuff with it. I think it could have gone somewhere. At least give it 8 episodes. Give us a chance to see what ideas that you guys have. But for me, honestly, the hit was Chico and the Man, and it kind of, it again goes back to this ongoing discussion that Zach and I have, and Diallo, you're a part of it too. It's like, back in 1976, would someone have said Chico and the Man? Everyone fucking knows it. But in 2025, it's kind of obscure. So it's kind of like the things that are like cult kind of like move and fluctuate, and obscurity kind of moves and fluctuates and everything, And at this point now, I do think Chico and the Man is kind of obscure.
No, it totally is. Totally is. And
go.
Shakespeare
Shakespeare was obscure for 300 years until the
There you go.
1800s, and then all of a sudden he started popping. So yeah, it's like, and I'm kind of serious, but like it's like like who knows why things catch on and why not, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Who knows why they didn't make a Hong Kong Phooey movie? Well, they did with Eddie Murphy. They did make a Hong Kong Phooey movie. Eddie Murphy's, yeah. So if you go, you can go online. I think.
What?
Diallo and I are like, what?
So there's a like a reel, like maybe a 7-minute teaser to Hong Kong Phooey, and it was supposed to be the movie. Eddie Murphy was going to star as Hong Kong Phooey.
Did he do like Pluto Nash and then his career?
Something like that
Nash,
happened.
definitely.
It was like because it was coinciding with the when Warner Brothers shelved the Roadrunner movie, and so they're like, look at all the other things they passed up on. Hong Kong Phooey with Eddie Murphy, and
Yeah, see, 2009. It was announced in 2009, and 2012 test footage was leaked.
Yeah, the test footage is leaked.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually pretty entertaining, and
Interesting.
That was one night. I love that show, man. Oh.
yeah.
I watched the hell out of that show back in the day.
Yeah.
Totally.
What the thing was too, like seeing that Dick Tracy. There's a Dick Tracy commercial for McDonald's or something like that, and
Yeah, I'll post all the links, guys, in the show notes.
you can check out. Yeah, it's on the Where's Rodney episode. But I'm like, yeah, that was for what, like a 1920s or 1930s comic strip that got made into a movie, 1940s or something, and. Like, how come they never made a Johnny Quest movie? You know, that wrote itself, but they didn't.
I think because the Dick Tracy movie didn't do well.
Yeah, that basically ruined all like 50s and 60s cartoons.
Well, yeah, but there was also like
there was a
glut.
stretch of movies, like
the
Shadow,
Phantom, Shadow.
But they all bombed. They all bombed.
But I mean, but Dick Tracy, like, and I actually think Batman kind of got that geared up.
Oh,
but,
totally.
Yeah.
The Rocketeer, even though that was
Rocketeer?
like it was new, but it had that pulp.
It's still
like,
bombed too,
Yep.
though.
Yeah. Like,
I love the Rocketeer. Honestly, I love Dick Tracy. I last time I watched that was actually about 8 years ago or something. I think it still holds up. I love Dick Tracy. I think it's a great movie.
I haven't watched it. How come they never made a Jetsons movie? They made 4 Flintstone movies. They never made a Jetsons movie. What's up with that?
Budget.
They could have, but I think about Speed Racer because everyone pops boners over Speed Racer
because it's amazing.
No,
I mean, but that you talk about things that bomb. I mean that
did
bombed
bomb too. So maybe
Diallo and I have spent many a night in Santa Monica talking on Broadway, talking about Speed Racer and why that didn't hit. Like, I mean, I think Speed Racer, I think we've both agreed that it was like 30 minutes too long because it's like 2.5 hours. It's a kids movie.
Yeah.
Needs to be 90 minutes.
Yeah.
And it missed. It was like a year and a half too early for the 3D shit.
Yeah.
And that movie, I have lost 2 Blu-rays of that movie because I give it out to people, and I happily rebuy it. I showed it to my nephew. He fucking loved it.
Yeah.
I love Speed Racer. I can't wait for a 4K version to come out.
It's
I just don't
So
feel.
good.
I feel like based on that, I'm right there with you. I just feel like, then make a Jetsons movie and make it really rad. And
Yeah.
I think those movies like The Shadow and The Phantom and stuff. I think. I mean, that's before they were able to even make like superhero movies good.
Right.
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if they did them today, it might be a lot better, at least solid. I wouldn't necessarily say good, but I used to watch the Dick Tracy cartoon. Actually, it was it was like a little mini feature on Archie's, the Archie's.
Oh
cartoon.
yeah. I just love the way they drew Dick Tracy with the side. I drew that
like
anyway.
that is very sharp. Sharp lines. Yeah,
Nose and jaw and stuff. Yeah, it was very cool. Again, I that's like a movie like Arrow needs to like put out a Blu-ray of Dick Tracy or something like that. Like
I'm
somebody
surprised
needs to
they
put out
haven't.
Yeah, I'm sure like I don't know, it's Warner Brothers or something like that are probably just holding it up. But
Madonna was looking all right in that movie.
that was peak Madonna right there.
She was looking all right.
Absolutely. This was fun, guys. I really enjoyed this batch of shows that we watched. Like I said, I didn't dislike any of them. I had a great time with all of them, but man, I was just blown away by Chico and the Man, 1974, and watching it in 2025 for the first time, and it holds up in spades. So I will put all the links in the show notes to we all seem to have watched all the same episodes, so I'll just put all those into the show notes, and everybody check them out, please. I think they're great shows, and everyone needs to sort of remember them and go down those alleyways. I don't know. Rabbit holes. There you go. Diallo, what you got going on in May, my friend?
Nothing. trying to get back into doing some more reviews. I haven't done anything like official yet. I did a short, brief catch up on Facebook, and I actually did on a Geekscape. We covered the first 3 episodes of Andor season 2. We did that Sunday, so that's available if anybody out there wants to watch that. I rip it a new one. And then another review that you didn't ask for is my podcast series, and and then I'm on this show called TV Obscura. And 80s Kids Unite.
Yeah,
and
baby.
you also did a mini review with me for Hellboy the Crooked Man. That was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah, dude. We need to do another short. Like you bring me on and I just start talking. But,
oh no, yeah, it was normally those things are like 30 minutes, but you and I went for like an hour and 10 minutes.
But it was such a fascinating movie.
Yeah, it was.
I was just so intrigued. I was listening to it on my walk, and I was like, this movie is so interesting. It's like not good, but it's like.
But I'm glad that it exists.
Yeah, make more of these. Try more.
Yeah, try again. Like I will happily support it. Try again.
Yeah.
Zach, you were in Japan when Al and I did that.
I'm still in Japan.
I know, dude, but trust me, I'm right there with you. Still a year later.
Japan living here.
Yes.
Egg salad sandwich, baby.
But Zach, this is dropping sort of early May. So what's going on with $2 late fee in May?
We're covering Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, we got
that's my movie.
Yeah, baby. We got Ira Hayden, who's one of the Dream Warriors, and on the show as well. And we're talking Dream Warriors for the first two weeks of $2 late fee. And then, of course, 80s Kids Unite and Territory Marks. Territory Marks will be another very fun, special episode at the end of the month. Lots of fun stuff, baby.
Oh, baby. We're always having a blast. Love TV Obscura. Love doing it with you guys.
Likewise.
Always fun. And as always, Diallo.
Catch you on the obscure side.
Chico. Be sure to subscribe to Podcasting After Dark and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Support Podcasting After Dark on Patreon. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Podcasting After Dark. And visit us next time for another installment of Podcasting After Dark with Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer.
Have you been wondering where's the beef? Well, on our podcast, Throwback Trivia Takedown, you might just find that out, as well as some other things about the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
We're a nostalgic-based trivia show that pits 2 challengers head-to-head in a duel of the decades, with categories ranging from movies, TV and music, to slang, food, and fashion. You're sure to get the best in retro-themed trivia.
So strap on your jelly shoes, grab a surge, and walk like an Egyptian to your favorite podcast app and check out Throwback Trivia Takedown.
I heard even Mikey likes it.